my Father, why have you forsaken me?" We know this cry. It is canonical, seismic, final. These words, spoken by Jesus of Nazareth on the cross, as rendered in the Gospels, have rung out for 2,000 years, reverberating through cathedrals and gutters, through broken hearts and broken empires. They are widely interpreted as either the pinnacle of divine mystery or the nadir of human despair. But in this fragment, titled simply "Forsaken," the cry does not stand alone. It is given a response of sorts, a bitter, backhanded reply from some voice, implied or real, to make you cry out in agony, proving one thing: you are not a madman. There is no comfort in that answer, no balm, but there is a kind of logic. It is the logic of verification by suffering. It is the suggestion that, in the end, the only way to be believed, to be taken seriously, to be confirmed in one's right mind, is to scream from a cross and to scream something terrible. Let us ask then, what is the nature of this fragment? What is it doing? What sort of mirror does it hold up to the figure on the cross, and perhaps more unnervingly to ourselves? Let us begin not with doctrine, but with doubt. For this fragment, short as it is, carries enough charge to detonate centuries of assumptions. The inversion of proof. There is a grim twist here. In conventional theology, the cry of forsakenness is often spiritualized. It is, we are told, a quotation from Psalm 22, meant to indicate prophetic fulfillment. Or it is seen as a deep mystery of the Trinity, a temporary rift within the Godhead. But in this fragment, all that evaporates. Instead, we are offered something colder, more psychological. You cried out in agony, and in doing so, you proved that you were sane. What kind of world is this, where proof of sanity comes only through the unendurable? It is a world where faith is not rewarded with peace, but pain, where the prophetic is not confirmed by visions, but by abandonment, where the only trustworthy men are the ones who scream in agony, because a madman wouldn't. The fragment flips the expectations of martyrdom. The suffering servant is not glorified, not vindicated, not received into divine arms with trumpet sound and angels' wings. He is left to hang, and that forsakenness paradoxically validates him. We might call this an epistemology of suffering. The logic runs: only the sane recognize absence, only the lucid scream in abandonment. The deluded are consoled by their delusions, but the truly sane, they know the absence, they feel the silence of God, they cry into the void and wait for an answer that never comes. The missing answer. The user who provided this fragment noted something crucial. There was never an answer in the original text. Indeed, when Jesus cries out on the cross, there is no reply, no dove descends, no voice from heaven, no supernatural chorus. There is just sky and blood and the end. The gospel accounts are disturbingly silent in the moment. The closest thing to a response is the tearing of the temple veil, an event charged with symbolism but devoid of direct address. And yet this fragment introduces an answer, not from God, but from whom? A commentator, a devil, a narrator, a voice from beyond time, to make you cry out in agony. Who speaks this line? And why? The syntax suggests someone who knew the purpose, someone cruel or clinical enough to design the test, to set the stage, and to watch. It reads almost like a line from a celestial experimenter, an operator who desired proof and arranged for the ultimate test of faith, not to save the subject, but to confirm his sanity. This is no theodicy. It is something more unsettling, a divinely orchestrated double bind. If he had not cried out, he would be mad. Because he cried out, we know he is not. But he still died, still forsaken. That is the marrow of the fragment. The cry was the price of proof, the machinery of belief. Let's look at the gears inside the fragment. It is, by structure, a classic two-beat poetic punch. My Father, why have you forsaken me? To make you cry out in agony, proving one thing: you are not a madman. Note the rhythm. The cry is loud, desperate, resonant. The reply is cold, distanced, diagnostic. The first is in the voice of the crucified. The second is almost clinical, something from a report. We are witnessing a machine of belief. The machine has input, suffering, and it has output, confirmation of sanity. What's broken is the comfort mechanism. There is no reward, no redemption offered. The cry is both the question and the answer. You were forsaken in order to cry, and you cried in order to prove you were not insane. It's a closed loop, a devastating one. Trial by absence. This suggests something horrifying. The only way to know that God is real is for him to be absent. Or rather, the only way to know you are real is to feel his absence. Presence is too easily faked. Many claim visions, raptures, revelations. Madmen and mystics both report divine intimacy, but only the sane feel abandoned. Only those fully aware of the stakes cry out into silence and mean it. Madness comforts. Madness provides hallucinations, false certainties, but sanity bleeds alone, knowing exactly what it's missing. In this view, forsakenness is not failure. It is the true test. Only those awake enough can cry out and not be answered and keep speaking. The saints, then, are not the ones who see God, but the ones who endure his absence without closing their eyes. 6. A madman wouldn't cry. Let's examine this bold claim. A madman wouldn't cry out. Why not? Because the madman does not perceive abandonment. The madman lives in a constructed reality, a hallucinated wholeness. His Father is always with him in some way. He hears voices that reassure or invents stories that soothe. The madman might be tortured, but he is not forsaken, because in his delusion he's never alone. The sane man is. He is truly alone, and he knows it. And when he cries out, it is not from fantasy, it is from awareness, real pain, real loss, real isolation. So in this cruel equation, madman, comforted falsely. Sane man equals abandoned truly. To be sane, then, is to suffer cleanly. No illusions, no divine hallucinations, no celestial crutches, just pain and the clarity of pain. And the final cruelty, the clarity itself becomes the evidence of sanity. Seventh resurrection denied. It's worth observing what's missing from the fragment. There is no resurrection, no hope, no ascension. This is not a Christian text in the traditional sense. It is crucifixion without sequel. It is not blasphemous, but it is bare. By ending the fragment at, "You were not a madman," the author denies us the comfort of a Christian closure. There is no "He is risen" here, just the cry and its cold validation. One might even say this fragment is pre-resurrection. It refuses the retrospective comfort that Easter imposes on Good Friday. It sits in the horror of the moment and does not move past it. There is power in that, honesty, even reverence, because the moment of forsakenness is a sacred moment in itself, not because of what comes after, but because of what it proves. The man on the cross was lucid. He was not deluded. He knew what was happening. He cried because he understood it, and that, according to the fragment, is what makes him real. 8. Psychological warfare. There's something deeply psychological about the entire construction. Imagine a father deliberately abandoning his son to test him. Imagine withholding presence, guidance, or love, not for cruelty's sake, but to see if the son would still cry out. The cry becomes a control variable, not the breakdown, but the proof of intactness. This would be a monstrous experiment, but perhaps the fragment is suggesting this is what divine testing looks like. Not fire and brimstone, not dreams and visions, but absence. The slow removal of presence until the soul cracks, not into madness, but into a scream. And the scream is data. It proves the subject has not lost himself, not entirely. If that's the case, then Jesus wasn't just a prophet or a martyr or a savior. He was a test subject, and the scream was the measurement. 9th, we are the ones who watch, but the most unsettling implication, we are the ones observing. The second line is spoken not by God, but by some us, a species of detached witnesses, perhaps ourselves, reading history, interpreting agony, studying the data. We are the ones who say, to make you cry out in agony, proving one thing, you are not a madman. We, the readers, the theologians, the philosophers, we look at the pain of others and we extract meaning. We verify their reality through their cries. In this light, the fragment is a commentary on interpretation itself. It warns, beware how you listen to pain. Beware how you use another's agony to confirm their status, their legitimacy. The scream is not for you. It is not for proof. It is a scream. Do not turn it into evidence. And yet, we do. We always do. X. Final reflections. The fragment as mirror. Fragments like Forsaken do not teach. They wound. They are blades of thought meant to cut through comfort, but they also offer a kind of unsparing clarity. This one, in particular, holds up a mirror to our ideas of proof, of sanity, of religious witness. It dares to suggest that the deepest truth may be found not in light, but in absence, not in what is spoken in reply, but in what is never answered. And yet the fragment does answer. It gives a dark comfort. You cried out, and that means you were sane. You were alone, and that means you were real. You felt the absence, and that means you were not mad. It's not much, but perhaps it is enough. For those of us who feel forsaken, who scream and hear no echo, who long for a voice that never returns, perhaps this fragment says, you are not insane, you are awake. And even if no one comes, even if the sky stays silent, even if the heavens tear and still nothing speaks, you cried. That cry was not madness. It was the sound of someone still here,